shit. That's what I'm talking about.
Wait! Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
Welcome to the Modern Campus Project, the Higher Ed PM, a brand new 4-part pulse check series from Enrollify. I'm Jake Tolman, the CEO of Mainform Consulting, a seasoned project management consultant with over a decade of experience specializing in technology system integrations, digital transformation, and project leadership within the higher education sector. In this series, we'll do 3 things. Set the foundation of what modern project management looks like with AI, campus-ready language that gets presidents, provosts, and frontline staff moving in sync, and step-by-step plans to build your AI PM skills without the migraines. Now, let's get into today's episode. All campuses have projects, but not many campuses have dedicated project managers. These are the people who are going to bring clarity, a roadmap for change, and concise communication with their peers and superiors and subordinates. So when I first started thinking about this podcast, I thought, what could be valuable to the listeners here? And we're in the holiday season, and since I run a consulting company that focuses on higher ed tech implementations, specifically Element 451 implementations, I thought I'd bring us a little bit of a Christmas holiday gift to all of our listeners here. So when your campus is thinking about a major implementation, whether it's a new CRM, a new LMS, a new SIS, all campuses are going to have these projects meant to improve the quality of product, the quality of experience for employees and students alike all across the organization. Back in 2018, 2019, I was a product manager over the CRM and a number of systems at a school in Salt Lake City, Utah. And we had a great setup with Dynamics 365. It was a great team. We had great business partners. We had great implementers and engineers. And our admissions and recruiting staff kept on asking us for additional functionality, and we would seek clarity and work things out. It got to a point where I was just the D365 fanboy. Anything that you said you need, we could build it inside of Dynamics 365. We just needed a little extra clarity from our business partners. And the more we got into this, we were spinning our wheels. We were trying to get clarity, trying to decide exactly how to deliver what was needed and manage these expectations within the system that we had. Well, our business partner came back and said, listen, this isn't working. Initially, I was a little offended. What do you mean it's not working? Of course we can get this done. But they pushed back and said, I think we need to look out into the market and see what we can buy that's more specific to higher education, not just to general sales. So we're going to talk a little bit today about PM skills, project management skills, and change management skills. These are more important than ever. When we talk about project management, we're talking about scope, we're talking about quality, budget, communication. To quote Chris Liddell, who's a former CFO of Microsoft and VC and CFO of General Motors, he says, creating clarity from ambiguity while organizing complex, interrelated processes, this lies at the heart of outstanding project management. I, for one, could not agree more. The project manager is going to be someone who brings that clarity of scope. It's going to be someone who has reputational authority, relational authority, not necessarily organizational position to command and control, but this is going to be the person who people just know to listen to. So look for that person when you're considering and looking into how to organize your leadership on your campus side of an Element 451 implementation. So these are going to be the people who bring this clarity, who know how to communicate well, not just only to their peers, but all up and down the organizational chain. Next is going to be around change management. Now, this is different from project management because project management focuses on scope, schedule, cost, quality, and communication, right? Change management, that's going to be focused on the human side of things. That's going to be focused on adoption, on resistance, on behaviors, awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and builds in reinforcement of the right ways to do things going forward. Now, both are going to need to be present in order for an implementation to be successful. So let's talk about the fundamentals of scope and quality inside of an implementation. So when your campus is getting ready to implement any new system and make any big change, there's 2 things you want to look at. One is going to be your data quality, making sure that the data that you bring over means what it needs to mean, both in your originating system as well as in the destination system. Second is going to be having a maniacal clarity about the processes that you're working with, not just what they do, but what they're meant to accomplish. Any process that exists for the sake of the process needs to go under heavy scrutiny to make sure that it serves the need that it's meant to deliver. So I always encourage my clients to question everything, get maniacal clarity around your core processes, but also remember the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, the idea that 80% of the value that your data provides or that your processes deliver come from probably 20% of your data or 20% of your processes. Those of you who are familiar with all the data that you have in your CRM or SIS or LMS, you're going to know that you have mountains, truckloads of data that's almost mind-numbing to look at and comprehend. But when we take a step back and think, what is the 20% of this gargantuan list of data that delivers 80% of what I'm looking for? I'm thinking demographics. I'm thinking enrollment-specific information. I'm thinking grades, right? These are the core things that your system is going to need in order to move forward. Everything else is peripheral. Yes, there is value in there, but when it comes to an implementation like this, let's focus on the core, the minimum viable product of data and processes that we need in order to succeed. That will greatly focus your scope and prevent burnout or distractions that are not necessary at that time. Next is going to be making sure that you migrate that data and bring it over in a clean and healthy way. I always tell my clients, when it comes to data migration, migrate as much as you need, but as little as possible. When it comes to data migration, the more that you bring over and the more historical information that you try to import over, the more complex it's going to be. Typically 2, maybe 3 years is all that you need when it comes to a CRM migration from system A into system B. When you look at your data migration, be very critical of that. You don't need to bring everything. You don't need to bring everything over. I have worked with campuses where they tried to import everything from 10 years or more, and it is an absolute mess. It's an absolute disaster. Multiple imports were required, a lot of data cleanup, and even years down the road, their Element 451 implementation is still struggling to gain the momentum because they just tried to bring over everything that was there before. So when it comes next to the communication of these things, be sure to communicate what's expected of your data extraction experts, of your process experts, of your subject matter experts, and work clearly from a place of mutual understanding. Don't make it so easy to understand, but make it difficult to misunderstand. To borrow a sports analogy, famous coaches would say, we don't practice until we get it right. We practice until we can't get it wrong. So when it comes to your communication, be sure to be focused and intentional about what it is that you're communicating. When it comes to these integrations, when you talk about connecting your CRM to your SIS or to your LMS or what have you, this is probably going to be your most underestimated work stream. And that's because it's typically the last thing to happen in an implementation like this. When it comes to moving data over, there's a common misconception that the teams will believe that they can clean the data later. We'll clean the data after it gets in the system. Well, I'm sure you've heard the term garbage in, garbage out. The same applies here. Don't bring over unfiltered data into your new CRM. The reason is, just imagine you were trying to move a hoarder's house, right? From house A to house B. You don't just go into the garage, into the basement, and just pick up these boxes that have been sitting there for 10, 15 years. Because when you pick up those boxes, you look under them, you see skeletons, you see mold, you see bugs and larvae and disgusting things. You don't just want to pick up that box and bring it over into the new house. You don't want to repeat the same mistakes. You don't want to bring filthy things over into your brand new environment. No, instead, what you want to do is you want to be very intentional, very clear about what it is that you're bringing over, making sure that things are clean, that they belong where they need to be. And this is where it helps to be taking a systems first approach. What is the overall system meant to be accomplishing? In the case of an admissions CRM, we're talking about improving the quality of the applicant and the speed of the experience, the quality of the experience. And so every process needs to serve that purpose, cleaning things up, making sure they delivered that exact value. And that's going to mean that a lot of processes that you look at, a lot of processes that you analyze, the way they're done today isn't going to be the way they're going to need to be done going forward. I remember when I was graduating with my undergraduate, where I sat in a special seminar with the president of the university, and he was giving us great congratulations for all we've accomplished and commending us on the work that we've done. But he said something that I'll never forget. And he said, "What got you here, all the great work that you've done, won't get you there." Meaning we have to keep learning. We have to keep questioning. We have to keep evaluating and seeking to understand the purpose of what we are trying to accomplish. What got you here won't get you there. And I take that same approach when it comes to analyzing the processes and the data and the behaviors that we're dealing with when it comes to a CRM migration. Recognizing to all the players involved that what got you here is wonderful. It is oftentimes nothing short of miraculous. And everyone deserves a pat on the back, a round of applause, congratulations. But what got you here won't get you there. We require new knowledge. We require new familiarities, new systems, new ways of doing things that will involve moving the cheese on us. But better to do it intentionally and on purpose, having a seat at the table, than being forced into irrelevance. I'll share one story of a campus that was evaluating an Element 451 implementation. They were a great campus. They were primed and ready to go. They described the pains of their current CRM implementation, the headaches that it caused, both in the quality of data as well as in the encumbrance of the processes. It was painful. And as they evaluated Element 451, they kept on saying, yes, well, what about this? Well, yes, well, what about that? And what we found out was that they were looking for a CRM that was familiar to the one they had. And eventually that evaluation failed. What was particularly interesting to me was that they felt the pain. They knew the pain. But at the end of the day, they weren't ready to move. Not yet. They wanted to have the same thing, just without the headaches. And they wanted to have the same functionality, but without the burden. And truthfully, when it comes to migrating from system A to system B, when you have a new system, behaviors are going to need to change. Processes need to change. And the value that you receive is going to look different. Ultimately, its purpose is still going to be met. But how you get that done, how you achieve that is going to change. So having a systems first thinking where you really know the process, but also what that value, the value is of that process, because there is no process by itself that sits in a vacuum. Rather, any process serves a larger process, right? You look at the questions in an admissions application. Well, they're not just for the sake of getting information out of the student. They actually serve to make sure we receive that student well, make sure we help them into the right environment. And that even that is not the ultimate process. The ultimate process is to help them succeed in their campus experience, succeed in their education, make sure they're paired with the right peers and cohorts and instructors. But even then, that process is not the end game. Ultimately, we want them to graduate. We want them to succeed. We want them to accomplish and move on. But even then, that's not the ultimate process. We want them to be gainfully employed, to serve in their communities, to have excellent, high-quality lives because of the education that we were able to assist them in receiving. So know what the process is that you're working on, but also what the purpose of that process is. Make sure that you have good quality governance in there, not just emotion driving that. So these are all parts of the key project management approaches that I take with my clients. Next is going to be on the change management side. And there are several change management processes and efforts that are out there. One that I love to follow is the ProSci ADKAR model. It's ADKAR, it's an acronym, ADKAR, stands for awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement. In my experience, whenever we get involved into an implementation, awareness for the need to have this change is there. Desire to change, it's there, and it's strong. They feel the pain. They know they want to change. They just don't know yet how to change. That's where knowledge kicks in. Most people don't know how to effectuate a change on their campus when it comes to an Element 451 implementation. Element 451 offers excellent guidance, right? Please identify a team captain. Make sure you have people who can log into our project management systems to make sure that we're tracking the tasks and so forth. But people on the campus side don't often know what the system can do. They don't know how to change their work habits. They don't know exactly what data they must collect. And so there's a lot of back and forth there that can be accelerated by an effective project manager. And when you look at the pain of staying where you're at versus the pain of moving ahead, pick the pain that you'd rather have. Would you rather have the pain of growth and change, or would you rather have the pain of constant headaches and operational burdens that eventually render your systems and your processes into irrelevance? Again, what got you here won't get you there. So when you look at a CRM migration, there's going to be anxiety, there's going to be confusion, but a good project manager is going to bring clarity. They're going to make sure you have ownership, that there's ownership present. So an excellent project manager is going to come to the table bringing scope, schedule, cost, and excellent communication. They're going to help you organize your resources and your efforts, where your campus is at with where the system is, to accelerate your implementation and your development. There's going to be resistance, right? The cheese is being moved. Systems and processes are changing, and people's jobs are going to be redefined. That's not hard, it's just different. And it can be challenging to get through what I call the valley of innovation, right? Where you start off with status quo sort of behavior, but then as changes happen, as disruption happens, productivity and output will fall. But eventually there comes a point of decision where people choose to adopt, and they grow and they understand and they learn about the system. And eventually you get to the point where the quality of your results are equivalent to where you were before the change began. When that growth is maintained and supported and reinforced, then you get into innovation. Then you get into doing things that your campus has never been able to do before because of things like AI and automation and better allocation of resources, better alignment of skills to processes and tasks. And especially in the age of AI, where humans are now able to do things that only humans can and should do. So that's a powerful place to be. So most of the time, system implementations don't fail because a system is hard. They fail because people are in the wrong role. So when you look at someone who needs to be the captain, look with someone who has positive and excellent relational authority, someone who has great personal organization, gets things done. This is going to be the person that people listen to and they follow them. This is going to be someone who is close to the system and processes. Please note, the captain probably should not be the VP or the senior director or the senior manager. These are going to be people who have access to the budget and control the purse strings, but your captain is going to be someone who is close to the system, close to the processes, close to the tasks, someone who has the authority to change what the process looks like in order to better meet the needs of the system and the needs of the organization. Thanks so much for listening.
The Higher Ed Pulse is part of the Enrollify podcast network. If you like this podcast, chances are you'll like other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing by the month, and we've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher ed technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional. Our show helps higher ed marketers and admission pros find their next big idea and features a selection of the industry's best as your hosts. Learn from Brian Gross, Eddie Francis, Jenny Lee Fowler, and so many of your favorite leaders in higher ed. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the next generation AI student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful and personalized interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.